Welcome to the August 31st, 2017 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, VyseTheBold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And PyroJackFrost.
We have kind of a mishmash of things going on this time around, but I think they're more about personal things that are going on in our lives, so I'm really kind of excited to go over these things and share a little bit here. But first, I know that we wanted to react to a couple of announcements.
For sure. So the people who make Yakuza were having a developer stream, and what was shown were two trailers that made me so very happy. So the thing with Yakuza is that 3, 4, and 5 are available on the PS3, 3 and 4 physically and digitally, and 5 on PSN. There's also Dead Souls, which is available physically and on PSN. Then there's Yakuza 0, which is on the PS4, physically and digitally. And, well, at the time of this recording, this is going to be Thursday the 31st, so 2 days ago on the 29th, Yakuza Kiwami came out, which is a remake of the first Yakuza game for the PS4. So I'm really hyped about playing that one. But the reason I'm mentioning all this is that all those games I mentioned are available, but Yakuza 1 and 2 are not. You either have the PS2 discs or you're out of luck. Now, I am aware that in Japan there are HD re-releases on the PS3, kind of like, you know, how Jak and Daxter collection got an HD remastering. They're like, let's give you a PS3 version. It's not a full-on modernization, it's just they cleaned up the graphics and put it on the newer system. So Yakuza 1 and 2 got that treatment in Japan, but not in America. In America, you either have the PS2 discs for Yakuza 1 and 2, or you don't. So Yakuza Kiwami is the big remake of 1 for the PS4. So if you missed out on Yakuza 1, this is your big chance to see the first game. You know?
I was really salty when we didn't get that HD that HD
HD trans vibrator.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trans, but yeah, the HD re-release.
Do I miss not having that? But you know, I was really salty at the time because I sold my my PS2 versions in anticipation that was going to be announced.
Yeah.
So like I had a full like sealed copy of Yakuza 2 that was worth quite a bit because that game wasn't printed a lot.
Yeah, even not sealed, it was complete in boxes, worth a decent amount.
Yeah, so I was really salty when that didn't come over, especially when it could have came out on the Wii U. I think it even had a version of it, something like that. So anyway, you know, just never came here. Now that we're getting the full-on remakes, I'm not nearly as salty. Like,
yeah, if you care about the plot, then the remake will do you just fine.
Yeah, I want the remakes.
Yeah, the remastering, like on the PS3, the remaster and the original games, Yakuza 1 and 2 do not play like 3 and 4. I mean, the fighting mechanics are very similar, but moving around the map, those games were products of their time. They were actually fixed camera angle games. Maybe with a little bit of scrolling, but you would reach the edge of the screen, and then you would wait like a second for the next screen to load. So that's how Yakuza 1 and 2 worked. So that's why 3 blew my mind when I played it, because you got to walk around in this open environment and even look up and down and move the camera with the right stick. You could never do that in Yakuza 1 or 2. So 3 was just a whole new interpretation of a way to see the Yakuza games. So with Kiwami, you should be able to do that with Yakuza 1, which is super cool. But, you know, there was still a piece missing, though, right? Because, again, PS1... sorry, not PS1. PlayStation 2, Yakuza 1 and 2... Okay, well, we filled the hole for Yakuza 1, right? If you're just coming into Yakuza with the HD systems, you could play Kiwami instead of 1. And you could play 3, 4, 5, Dead Souls if you felt like it, 0, and you'll be able to play 6 when it comes out. But there's just 2. You know, 2 is missing. But they announced Yakuza 2 Kiwami is coming, and I am crazy hyped about that because That's one of my favorite Yakuza games. I've mentioned during previous podcasts that 5 was kind of a love letter to 2 in its own way. And while this is a genuinely tough one, I might like 4 and possibly 5 more than 2, maybe, but 2 is definitely the most fun. 2 gets into weird territory, and you got the whole dual dragons. You know, Kiryu is the dragon of Dojima, and Ryuji is the dragon of Kansai, and you both respect each other, but must be enemies, and it's amazing.
I really hope that they do a 3 Kiwami, because we really need a cleaned up version of 3. 3 got butchered.
Actually, that is a good point, because no, that is a very good point. As far as gameplay is concerned, there's no reason to do a reinterpretation of 3, but 3 had a lot of cut content. A lot.
Yeah, if any of them need like a fan retranslation, it's that one.
Yeah, like an undub.
Yeah.
Because like 3 dropped the hostess thing entirely, like at the hostess club.
And all of the mahjong. All of mahjong, I think.
Yeah, probably. And the thing that bothers me is that 2 had those. Like, we already... It's not like, oh, I don't think Americans will like it. We already got it. So, like, was there complaints or whatever? Because there sure as hell was complaint after 3 came out that we did not want that stuff cut. And they were like, okay, sorry. So 4 came out in just about complete condition.
During that time, it was a really dark time for Sega. They were in really bad shape when that game was released. So, in some ways, we're lucky that we got it at all. But also, why? Like, they were cutting corners. That's what they were doing. They didn't want to localize the like the tutorials and things like that for that stuff.
Yeah, the hostess clubs were gone. A few side missions were gone, including recurring ones that show up again in Yakuza 4 and 5. and in 4, they'll be like, "Remember us?" And I'll be like, "No." Like, and it was weird. Yeah. Like that I mentioned a while back on the podcast when I was playing 5. There's this like wacky comedy duo. They first appeared in 3, but not for me because I was playing the Western release. So I see them in 4, and I should know who they are, but I don't, because Yakuza is actually really good about continuity, even with its side quests. So 3, that's the problem with 3. Not only was it missing stuff, but if you couldn't tell within the game itself, then you sure as hell could when you played the sequel. And they even made weird changes. Like there was this, like in 3, these kids get a cute little dog, and I think its name was like Mame or something, and they like super Americanized it. They called it like Rex, and it's like, what? and then in 4 or 5, I forgot which game, but they give him his real name. Well, after that, it's like, yeah, we're sorry.
Depending on when it came out, I mean, these translations are still when they thought they needed to Americanize games to make them more playable by audiences in the U.S.
But it's just dumb though, because they didn't in 2. Like, we got the mahjong thing, we got the hostess club, so it's like, why'd you think this was a good idea? And even Kage, he was supposed to just be called the florist, but they called him Kage, and it's still super Japanese. It means shadow.
Well, the funny thing about that all is that it's probably the worst localization in recent memory. Like, I can't think of any game that lost that much or had that much ripped out of it. I mean, you could think of little things, you know, like I don't know, like swimsuits being taken out of certain games, you know, for omake kind of stuff. You know, like,
it's glaring too, because like on Yakuza, if you've ever played Yakuza, if you go to the map, everything has a color, because if you don't want to find where a building is by scrolling down this long list, you can press a button on your controller, maybe like triangle or something, and you can color code it. Like, all the restaurants are orange. All of the parlors, like the mahjong and the shogi, are blue, etc. So if you want to find the kind of building you're looking for, you can do that. So all these buildings have these different colors on the map, but then there's this just giant blotch of gray, and it's just like, clearly there was supposed to be something here. Yeah, it's just like, because you can't delete the entire buildings from walking around. That makes no sense. So the map just has gray, and the buildings have doors that don't open. And it's like, it's super frustrating. So I didn't think you'd need a Kiwami of 3, but that actually would make a lot of sense. But the point is, Yakuza 2 Kiwami's coming out. I'm super hyped. Now, the other game that's coming out that I don't know much about, it was like, it was a full-on trailer, but as for what the game really, really is, there's not much of a story trailer. It was more of a conceptual trailer, but the hype was insane. Insane. Now, Yakuza, the Japanese name for Yakuza is Ryo no Gotoku, which is, I believe, Path of the Dragon. And that does make sense. Kiryu is the dragon of Dojima, and he has this giant dragon tattoo on his back. And you follow Kiryu wherever he goes. It's the Path of the Dragon. But I guess that name sounds a little too generic or nondescript in America, so they called it Yakuza. And it is a game about Yakuza, so it does make sense. But it's kind of like Resident Evil, where it makes less sense as the series progresses, because Kiryu is like... By the time we get to later Yakuza games, Kiryu still interacts with Yakuza a lot, but he himself is no longer affiliated with the family, so he's ex-Yakuza. So Yakuza still kind of makes sense. But Ryu no Gotoku, right? So the devs released a trailer for a game, I don't know if it's the official title or an unofficial one, but called Hokuto no Gotoku.
So Fist of the Dragon? Oh, no.
No, Hokuto is north, I think.
North, okay. North.
So like, maybe the title doesn't make so much sense, but like,
at least Hokuto no Ken, right? You know.
Yeah, the people who made Yakuza are making a Hokuto no Ken game that plays like a Yakuza game.
Oh man, I missed this. I didn't realize that. So it has the official licenses of Hokuto no Ken?
Dude, let me tell you.
That's awesome.
So first of all, you see Kenshiro doing his usual...
This is what I wanted out of the Muso game. I wanted an action game.
And Kenshiro is voiced by the guy who does Kiryu. And it works pretty well. So Kenshiro, you still hear him going like, oh, but it also shows him doing stupid minigame stuff. Like you see him shaking a drink in a bar and then going like, dozo, and like offering it to you. It's like, what? That never happened. So it's basically... It's kind of like Yakuza Dead Souls, where, like, it's a gun game that happens to take place in the Yakuza world. So, like, the Hokuto game is like, what if Hokuto played like Yakuza? So the trailer that really pushes this for you, I freaking died. Because you see the guy...
Ken can't interact with women, like, romantically. Like, how's he going to go to a hostess
I don't know about that. They don't show that. But, you know, the trailer was gold. Because here's what happens. You see Kiryu in front of Kamurocho under that big arch as you enter the city. Like, if you've played any of the Yakuza games ever, you'll know what I'm talking about. And Kenshiro standing under that big arch, and the guy who Mr. Ryu informed me was the protagonist of 6 is talking to him. And, you know, he walks away, and Kiryu's just smiling like, yeah, that guy's all right. And then some punk who had, like, gotten his face punched, he's got this big red mark, like, above his nose. Like, he got messed up by probably Kiryu. And none of this is subbed, but you get the idea. Like, the guy's just like, Kiryu, you punk, I'm gonna take you down. Like, you thought you beat me, but, like, I'm super mad and I'm running at you. And it's just some scrub running at Kiryu. So it's like, I think I know where this is going. So he runs at Kiryu, but then Kiryu, like, points at him, and the guy's like, and, like, so Kiryu's finger is lightly touching his forehead, and it looks like one of those, I think you know better, maybe you better stop right now, right? It looks like one of those deals where Kiryu just touches him with a finger, and he's like, you don't want to escalate the situation. But then the camera shows, it zooms in on Kiryu's face, and fucking Kazuma Kiryu still points at the guy, takes his hand away, and Kiryu himself says, Omae wa mo shinderu. And the guy, I was like, oh my god. And for the record, in Fist of the North Star, that's Kenshiro's famous line, you're already dead. Because Kenshiro's gimmick is he punches you in ways that don't feel like they hurt very much if you work out. But you're like, that wasn't so bad. And then Kenshiro says you're already dead, and it turns out he hit your pressure points, and then you're like, your head explodes. So Kiryu says, Omae wa mo shinderu. And the guy's like, what? And then when the camera swings back to the guy, he's like a Hokuto thug standing in Kamurocho, and I'm like, what? And so like then the guy goes like, what are you talking about? And like he starts inflating and his head explodes, and then when the camera pans back to Kiryu, he's Kenshiro, and then he goes like, oh, and then it zooms out of Kamurocho, and everything fades out and it fades back in. Kamurocho looks like some shitty wrecked remain of a city like from Hokuto, and the implication is this is a Yakuza game where you're playing as Kenshiro and the world is Hokuto no Ken. And I was like, oh man, it was the greatest reveal. Like, nobody saw that coming.
So
it's
did
amazing.
They say anything about a Western release on this? Because
I don't know, but
it's
like
doubtful.
If we got Hokuto Muso, we can get this. Yakuza is becoming more popular, and again, Hokuto Muso, that's a game that we really shouldn't have gotten, but we did, even the second one. So like,
yeah,
I have high hopes.
But the Yakuza spin-offs are always kind of like suspect. Like, we didn't get the 2 PSP games. We didn't.
No, but the thing with those games though is that they are really Japanese. Like, there's a lot of stuff that just wouldn't translate, especially the one in the
feudal Japan ones though.
I would have but that's that one in particular.
Kenzan games.
Yeah, I would have loved the Kenzan games, but like that those games require a lot of explanation, like a lot. There are cultural things that you would just know if you've ever gone to school in your life in Japan, but like that would require more explanation than I think the game affords. Like, I think that was part of the reason we didn't get it. But we've gotten Hokuto games, we've gotten Yakuza games. I don't know if we have confirmation, but I have high hopes for this. I really hope we get it. Because Kenshiro, voiced by Kiryu, playing a Yakuza game where you get to like Hakuretsu Ken, blow up like one guy with like 100 fists. Oh my god, I'm super hyped. Like, there's this one gif that people like, taken from an old Hokuto episode, where Kenshiro's trying to sneak into town by hiding in a wheelbarrow full of hay, and then someone's checking the hay, and they part the hay a little bit, and you just see Kenshiro's face staring at him all seriously, and like the guy's just like, oh, and he puts the hay back, and like it's supposed to be this don't mess with Kenshiro moment, but it just kind of looks funny the way it's done. So a bunch of people were playing that gif on Twitter, because it's like, it was a Kenshiro reveal, but some people like edited the gif where like the guy checking the card has like Majima's eye patch, and like Kenshiro's face is like Kiryu's face. It's like, yeah! Like, I was super, super hyped for this game. I cannot wait. Assuming it comes out, I cannot wait. I'm super stoked. And there's no way it's going to have any relevance to Hokuto's plot, because, well, it must have a little, because the trailer did feature a lot of famous bad guys Kenshiro fought, like Shin and Devil Rebirth, but like, I don't know what the hell the basic plot's going to be if it plays like Yakuza. Like, maybe it'll have the same plot beats, but there'll be random side stuff that wasn't good enough to make an episode, you know, like just working in a bar for a little bit, like little side quest stuff. I don't know, but I'm super excited. So that was the greatest reveal, because nobody saw it coming. It was like at EVO, that 4-way crossover fighting game that nobody saw coming. It's like, what? This was like that. Like, who saw that coming? So I'm super hyped.
Nice.
So those are the announcements.
I'm excited about those two as well. Now, wanted to have a quick segment here about what we did at my place this weekend. This past weekend, Lotus came over and we had Chinese food.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the segment.
Can you believe it? I had beef and string beans, by the way. Twist, I know.
He refused to use chopsticks. It was
I adamantly refused. Yeah.
No, but first thing we did was we played a game that I had just started playing, but kind of got addicted to. It's called Thumper.
Mm-hmm.
I heard good things about that game. What's it like?
Sweet.
It is described as a rhythm violence game.
Yeah.
So essentially, the best way I could describe it is it's kind of like Rhythm Heaven if it weren't cute.
Yeah. Okay.
That's true. Like, yeah. When this situation comes up, press X. When this situation comes up, do these different commands.
Yeah. So basically, you have sound cues and visual cues that lead you into a rhythm of sounds to avoid and also attack bad guys. So it's a rhythm game, very much so, kind of like Patapon or something like that. It's a game that looks like an action game, but it isn't. It's more of a rhythm game.
Yeah.
More like kind of like Punch-Out is too. Like Punch-Out is more
That's
of
true.
a
it's
reaction
not a fighting game.
rhythm game than it is a boxing game, right? It's not really a boxing game.
Yeah.
So Thumper, you're like this like space beetle, like going down this like track, Where what's that?
Yeah, no, I guess that would be right. I mean, it looks to me like you were like a single,
like a scarab,
like a monorail or a roller coaster cart, but like with things that look like they could be wings when you raise them.
Oh, yeah, you're a beetle. You're a beetle, for sure. And you're traveling along this this rail at like Mach speed.
Yeah, you're literally on a rail.
And you're attacked by these eldritch horrors in the background that set up like all kinds of barriers and things that you have to turn into and react to. And it is a fun game. It's really addictive, very challenging. It starts off hard and just gets harder. But you can get into the rhythm of the game.
Yeah.
To the point where it becomes easier in a way, but it's still extremely challenging. But you kind of just like flow into the game. It's kind of like a lot of other rhythm games like that. Like, even though it's getting harder, you are becoming more and more one with the game and what it wants you to do at what times.
And one thing I want to point out, by the way, is that a lot of the actions you do, and you could argue even all of them, have a real, there's a real satisfying kind of oomph, like an impact when you get any of these things off, especially the stomps. And one thing I should point out is the nature of the music and the sound effects, because this game really is like Rhythm Heaven in terms of basic gameplay. But the thing with Rhythm Heaven is that music is all catchy in its own way. But you wouldn't crank your volume to 11, It's more like, I'm really getting into this. But with Thumper, you want to blast Thumper.
It's so great. It's awesome to listen to, and it's like Rez in that, like, if you're doing well, you feel great about what you're creating.
That is true. Really like dodging, like busting through barriers or like dodging the spikes and running into the little things hanging above them. They provide little sound effects that contribute to the music. So it is like Rez, where like you feel good, but also the soundtrack is better directly because of you by playing the game properly.
Yeah, and I had bought this way back when I had originally gotten my PSVR. And it is PSVR compatible, and that's part of the reason why I bought it.
That's gonna be a freaking trip.
I haven't had a chance to play it in VR yet, so now that I've played it outside of VR, I am definitely like hounding to play it to see whether it's good. I assume it's awesome in VR. It's just one of those games that has the kind of depth that will look good in VR. So I can't wait to play that a little bit more and also experience that. But that's... Lotus, you're a fan of that type of game too, so I feel like it was a good game for both of us to play and take turns on. So
it's funny because I'm not really a music game guy, but like I have some exceptions, like Space Channel 5 and Rez and Guitar Man, and Thumper definitely goes like Rez and Rhythm Heaven, and I do like Rhythm Heaven as well.
Yeah, that's what I meant by that. I didn't mean like you were like a DDR fan or something like that.
Yeah, or like Guitar Hero. Like,
exactly.
They're fun, but, but like Thumper I could see myself buying for sure.
And the other thing that we did was we watched a movie called Stalker, which just got released on Criterion Collection. So this movie is apparently a very influential science fiction movie that was made in Russia and was released in 1979.
Is this what the games are based off of?
So yes,
kind of.
Stalker. That's where the name of the games comes from. So there are a number of movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that inspired, different video games.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are super artsy. Like, I was kind of liking our viewing of this to the liking of watching El Topo, which is a movie that is extremely influential because it's very odd. It's a very odd movie, but it also has some really great philosophical ideas. And it inspired Suda51 to make No More Heroes. So we kind of the movie, that movie in particular has like two major parts to it. And the first part is structured where the character has to go through a personal journey where he defeats certain masters of the Old West.
And like No More Heroes, it's one really quirky boss after another.
Yeah, but the idea is that each one is a journey in reassembling the person's self, the person's psyche. Each one is a major component of what makes up his psyche. So anyway, it's kind of like Afro Samurai kind of has that going on too, right? So
yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
This movie is influential in the same way, in that it's a weird movie. It's not necessarily a fun movie to watch, but
it's also very like there are certain scenes. The movie's like 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it could easily have been like 2 hours, 10 minutes. There are a lot of scenes that are just very extended, where like it does provide a certain mood, but like if you just want to get the point, then they could be cut. You could argue the attitude of the movie might be lost, but like if you just want to know what happens, then you can really shave this down.
So we posited that several scenes in the movie were actually supposed to make you feel sleepy. Like to the point
they
like,
convey that really well.
Not only are the characters getting sleepy, but you're also getting sleepy when watching it.
Because each shot is them lying on the ground with their eyes barely open, and they're doing that thing that everyone has done at least once in their life, where they're having a sleepover or whatever, and like someone's talking to you, and you don't really want to keep talking. You're basically giving them enough of an answer to get them to shut up, but they kind of keep going. So it's like, what is your opinion on life? And you're like, well, I guess the major point. And like, man, it really knocks you out. Like, it's very effective.
Yeah. So I should go over the basic plot, and I'm also going to kind of go in depth about this movie because I don't expect many people to watch it. Essentially, the major plot is that somewhere in Russia a meteorite hit the Earth, and then there was this something happened there. It killed everybody around it, or whatever, and or there was some radiation there or something, but there to the point where everything around it became a zone in which nobody can get into, and you don't want to go.
Yeah, it's the forbidden zone.
So essentially, it's an allegory to Chernobyl. Essentially, it's a zone in which is extremely dangerous to go. They don't explain why, but anyway, the main character is what's called a stalker. In the mythology of the movie, he is a person that dares to go into the zone and also will guide other people through the zone. So they have. There's also two other characters that want to go into the zone. There's a philosopher and a writer. So and that's what their names are in it. So you can go as far as to probably say that they are different facets of a human personality. Right.
Yeah, that's an important thing at this movie. Unless my memory's a little off, I don't believe anybody in this movie goes by
They don't have a name. No, none of them have a name. So you could posit
the stalker, the professor, the writer.
Yeah, exactly. So you could posit that they are different parts of a singular personality. So anyway, they have to sneak into the zone because there are guards all over the place, from the government keeping them out of this zone. And they're all those guards are terrified of it. It's not like they want to go in there. They want to basically protect people from going in there.
But it's weird though because
they try to shoot them.
Yeah, as they're sneaking past the guards, there are 0 warnings. The guards just open fire. But like when they get far enough past the guards, it's like, oh, they're not even going to think about chasing us into here. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, maybe it's supposed to like steer other people away from going into the zone. Anyway, you can make that argument. But it's a post-apocalyptic world, even in the non-zone parts. It's a shithole. Like, the world's a shithole.
Not that you see much of it, but yes.
Yeah, there's filth everywhere. There's industrialization everywhere.
And literally outside the window of the protagonist's house, you see, like, the nuclear, smokestacks, or not smokestacks, but the cooling towers.
Yeah, and also the entire world's in sepia, like it's been black and white.
Like sepia, like the beginning of the Wizard of Oz.
Tan and black. Yeah, tan and black. So, it's really interesting because the reason why they're going into the zone is there's a rumor that there is a room there that will grant the person their greatest desire. So the writer and the professor want to go there in order to get to the room, to get their wish granted. The thing is, the zone is dangerous because it's constantly shifting. Kind of like, think about Hogwarts. But not like the movie's incarnation of it, which kind of makes sense in physicality.
Yeah,
it's more like an MC Escher kind of thing. Like you look somewhere and it could change when you look back.
Gotcha.
It's like Stephen King's. Not the movie. This won't help you, but like Stephen King's The Shining, the book. Like or like. In Doctor Who, the blink ghosts, you look back and, like, that's not where they were before.
Well, no, the movie's like that, too. The movie was made in a specific way of The Shining in order to convey that the hotel did not create a physical space that made any sense. There are hallways that lead into hallways that shouldn't.
Fair enough. I was thinking specifically the topiaries.
No, Kubrick made that movie particularly so it was very disjointed. If you were paying attention, the physicality of the hotel makes no sense.
Okay.
So anyway, it's very similar here, and it's dangerous. The Stalker is warning the guys, but it's kind of like the Greek myth where if you look back, you're done. You cannot look back. You have to keep going forward. It's also kind of like in Purgatory. Purgatory's like that in Dante's Purgatory. Is like that. Yeah, I'm probably the only person to talk about Dante's Purgatory.
I actually have read
talks about Dante's Inferno.
That's the famous one. I remember being fascinated by the Purgatorio because it was basically also hell, except the spirits there were happy because they knew that it would end.
But it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, it still sucks, but they're like, I'm going to get heaven after this. With hell, there's no hope. That's the point.
Yeah, but the danger is you could be stuck in purgatory forever. So it may take, and there's actually no rhyme or reason as to, or there may or may not be any reason to why or how long you stay in purgatory.
I think it's about you being ready. Although then again, though, I do remember a couple of souls were gathering around Dante when they realized he was alive, and they're like, "Oh my God, could you find my relatives and ask them to pray for me and like shave off some years I'm here?" It's like, oh, that's how it works. Sorry.
Well, part of the divine comedy aspect of it, why it's kind of supposed to be funny, is that there is no rhyme or reason as to why God favors other people over others. Because like in Paradise, for instance, Dante's Paradise, which is the third book.
Yeah.
There are people in heaven that you would never expect to be in heaven, and it doesn't make any sense, and it's never explained. And that's kind of supposed to be part of the comedy of it. So there are certain people that will get through purgatory, and it doesn't make any sense. Like there are other people that are putting in way more work to get there, or were way more penitent during life. But that's supposed to be part of the farce of it. But anyway, I digress. So it's all about their journey through this zone and getting to this room. And one of the major points that the movie makes is that you may get what you want, what your innermost desires are, which is what the room gives you. You don't ask for it for something specific. It will give you specifically what you want the most. You might find out
what you want the most.
You might find out that you are a complete piece of shit, which is what comes of it. One of the main character's mentor finds out. He basically goes to the room to wish for his brother back, because his brother passed away. He wanted to wish for him to come back to life. And instead he was made fabulously rich, because that's what he actually wants, deep in his soul. And so he ends up committing suicide, because he finds out that he's a piece of shit, and that he doesn't actually want his brother alive. He wants to be rich.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because you don't really learn this later. Like, you learn in the beginning of the movie that somebody went to the room and got crazy rich and then killed himself. And the other guys were like, is that how that works? Because I don't think I would kill myself if I was rich. And I was thinking it would be something like, oh, when you win the lottery, like, you have to question who your friends are, because do they like you or do they like your money? But no, it was way more reflective of an experience.
Yeah, so you're wondering the whole movie why he killed himself, and basically the reveal is that he got what he wanted, but that was the problem.
Yeah, like they hinted at this a couple times in the movie too. Like, everybody knows that we have like a face we show in public, like at our jobs, or like if we're at the podium. There's the more private version of ourselves that will show our close friends, but then there's like the supremely private, like, this is only for me version of ourselves,
and also a part of persona, but also a part of yourself that you might know is no good.
Well, yeah, that's
it's your shadow. It's your shadow.
Yeah.
We all have parts of ourselves that we are no good. You know.
No, I'm perfect.
But like what I really like about
that we suppress because we know that other people shouldn't be exposed to it. You know.
Yeah, and what I found interesting about Stalker though was that in this sense, it took kind of the Silent Hill 2 approach, because in Silent Hill 2, the environment and the enemies are reflective of some negative aspect of yourself. So what I thought was interesting was it gets to the point where, you know, the Stalker mentions, oh, the room isn't for the Stalkers, and that may or may not be true, but the other people at least more consciously make a decision not to go into the room, because, like, you might not even want to know what your innermost desire is. Because the thing is, there's the most private part of you that you won't show anybody else, but there might be an even more private part of yourself that even you don't show yourself. It's like a subconscious or even unconscious desire. So, like, do I want to go into the room really, really wishing for something, and then, like, something horrible happens because it turns out that's what I really cared the most about? Like, at that point, fuck the whole room. Like, I don't even want to try.
No, it's too powerful. It's too absolute, right? So, I actually enjoyed it, and I actually thought about the ending more since we left. So the ending, oddly, it's not happy, but it's kind of like a happy version of what. It's like a happier version of what you could ever imagine could be happiness in this story. Like, the main character actually returns to his family. The Stalker returns to his family, and the professor and the writer also are able to get out of the zone, right?
Yeah, which usually does not happen. Like, either you succeed or you die, and not that you ever see people die, but the vast majority of people, apparently, who tried this do not come out.
So, you have to be convinced that you want it. Also, you need to be able to be wary of what's happening. You need to be confident and also sad.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the movie reinforced that the zone seems to favor unhappy people.
So, you know, at the end, he gets out and he gets to be with the Stalker gets to be with his wife and his kid, who he essentially abandons every time he goes into the zone. He may not come back. Yeah. So nobody ends up going into the room. I don't know whether you noticed this or not.
Well, no, I said that. They all chose not to do it.
Well, there is somebody who does go into the room. You just may not realize it within the film sense.
Okay.
So the cameraman goes into the room.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we go into the room, therefore we get the happy ending that we wished for.
Oh, that's clever.
Huh.
So we want an ending where the Stalker gets to be with his wife and his child and gets out of the zone. So that is my guess as to what happens, and I don't think I'm far off. but I think that's what happens, and that's the beauty of a movie like this, is that I'm not ruining anything for anybody, because what you make of this movie is on you.
By the way, one thing that you hinted at earlier, but I want to reinforce, you had mentioned the world was sepia tone. The Zone is not. The Zone is in full color.
Yeah.
And it's not like The Wizard of Oz where you open a door and there's color on the other side. It's just kind of like the people are on this minecart, on this long, monotonous trip. And that also seems to hint at going into like a dreamlike sort of state. But then when the camera cuts, like when you cut to the next scene, they're finishing up their trip and it's just color. So like the Zone is in color.
Yeah, it's very jarring.
And just like The Wizard of Oz, and they go back, it's sepia again.
It's similar to a Johnny Depp movie from the 90s called Dead Man. I don't think it's not particularly well known except in film buff circles, but essentially it's another acid western. You know, it's kind of like El Topo or whatever. It's a weird movie that's a western, but the main character gets on a train, and that's basically the inciting event. But it's basically his descent into hell.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of similar, but anyway. Getting back to the point, the reason why it's influential is the aesthetics.
Yeah.
So I and also like the kind of like how Godzilla is a really good allegory for the bombings. You know, the nuclear bombings of Japan. This is a really good allegory for the Chernobyl disaster in Russia. So. It's really good in the sense that it has that overarching fear of Russia in you know that a lot of people must have in Russia of you know, that kind of nuclear fear, and I think that and the oppression that comes with it. So I think it's a really good movie to watch if you like this kind of thing, but it's extremely artsy. It's not fun. It's not a party movie in the slightest, and you have to be watching it with somebody who wants to watch it for the same artistic value that you do. So
and by the way, just to reinforce what you were saying about how it influenced aesthetically, because we have Metro 2033, we have the Stalker video games, but like there is like zero action in the movie. There are no enemies. There is nothing that's like,
there's no mutants or anything like that.
Yeah, there are no mutants. You know, a lot of the movie is like, okay, now this is a dangerous part of the zone. We got to really watch out for the dangerous part. But nobody ever actually, nobody gets hurt like in the entire movie, except for like a really brief part where the guys fight each other, but that was telegraphed. Like there is nothing where, oh man, I almost died, or you know, like nothing like that at all. It's just that the general
there's
aesthetics,
a danger of people dying constantly.
Yeah, there's a lingering fear, but nothing ever happens to the people. Like it really, like the way the place looks, the environment, I can see inspiring maybe where you are in the Stalker game. But like the Stalker games are first person shooters.
Yeah.
Not even close. But like where you are in Stalker, or like maybe the mood of Metro 2033, you know, you're in the subway tunnels versus you're walking through that pipe in the Stalker movie. That's as far as it goes, but it is a very impactful appearance, like throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, just the way that trash and industrialized
there's trash
decay
everywhere in the zone and out of it. I mean, even in the sepia tone, like not zone areas, man, those places don't look good. Like it's I could see those being in games as well. Just even where people are, it still sucks.
So having said that, I wanted to talk about that, but I really do want to hear about Pyro's trip here.
I'm actually really glad you talked about this. It sounds like I really like artsy movies, so I'm gonna probably try that, check that out.
Yeah,
again, just be sure to watch this. Like, watch this like you would Space Odyssey. Like, you need to, like, set aside time and concentrate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to watch it, and you also need to be either by yourself or with somebody that is as engaged in watching it as you are.
Yeah,
or at least have the concentration to, even if the other person falls asleep or walks away, that you know you want to watch it.
Yeah, like do not just chat it up with a person you're watching with. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, so I'm going to be going to Japan in, I think, as of the day this is out, like a week, less than a week.
I'm extremely jealous.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, it's going to be a 10-day trip. The first 2 days, I'm going to actually be in China visiting my girlfriend's family.
Nice.
But then we're going to Japan. It's going to be 2 days in Kyoto, and I think like 4 days in Tokyo. And there's days of travel and whatever built in.
Sure.
So it's actually funny. This will be my 3rd time going to Japan, and I'm actually going to be probably seeing the same things that I saw the first 2 times I went, because none of my girlfriend's family has seen any of it. So I'm willing to look at it again. But it's actually kind of cool because I actually planned out the itinerary of all the days in Japan, more or less. Whereas like the first time I went, it was with college, so kind of the day-to-day thing was preordained. The second time I went with a friend, and we kind of just made stuff up as we went. It worked, but there were probably a lot more things we could have done. It's not like I'm really planning out this trip to Japan like by the second, but we went where there's like one major thing we're doing per day, and we kind of planned around that. So our first day in Kyoto, if I remember correctly, we are going to look at a lot of the temples and shrines around the area we're going to be. We're not staying close to any of them, but around, because we're staying in a hot spring inn actually the first 2 days. So that should be pretty fun. But yeah, we're looking at a lot of the shrines and temples. This second day, I believe we're seeing the old Imperial Palace, you could say, and the area around that. Then we're spending a day in the second to last day in Tokyo is basically Akihabara Day for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's kind of been agreed upon that I can spend as much of the day as I want there as I want. Where if anyone else wants to join me, they can. If not, I'm on my own. It's actually pretty cool, though. Not that I'm going to do this
Permission to
because,
nerd out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be probably really tired, but the place we're staying is only 10 minutes away from Akihabara anyway.
That's awesome.
So I could technically, if I want to, late at night, as long as I catch the train back.
You just sneak out.
Yeah, but the thing with different than New York, the trains in Japan, they stop at a pretty early hour overall. So if I did stay out too late, I'd have to either walk home, which would be quite a bit, or stay overnight, which I don't want to do.
All night in Akihabara, yeah!
Yeah, well, with everything closed, yeah, that would not be fun at all.
Oh.
But we're spending a day also in the last day is in, we're looking at the Tokyo Tower, and we're going to Odaiba, which, if you don't know, that's where the giant Gundam statue is.
Oh, nice.
I don't think the new one's going to be finished by the time we're there, but
I was going to say, didn't they take that one down?
Yeah, and they're making a Gundam unicorn. So
I heard about that. Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be done. I think they only finished the legs so far, so I don't think it's going to be done by the time we get there. But the Gundam store is there, and it's basically like I read about it. It's so big they have like 5 different sections of it. Here's the building section, here's the shop section, here's the display section.
That's so cool.
Lots of stuff.
Nuts.
And on that same day, I think I'm getting my days mixed up, but I know another thing we're doing is near Tokyo Tower, actually right underneath it is One Piece Tower.
Oh.
And basically, it's like a restaurant / theme park, One Piece related. So like the second half of our trip in Tokyo is all nerd dorky stuff. Our second day in Tokyo, we're going to the Ghibli Museum.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I've always wanted to go to that.
Yeah. So that should be fun. And then we're spending a day going to Ueno Park, which is actually a 5-minute walk from where we're staying, and looking at the zoo, the aquarium, like all the different stuff that's going on there. So I'm really excited, which should be fun. I'm only worried because I know that this is going to go by really fast.
Yeah. The only thing that I always need to do when I go to these like something like this where I know there's tons of stuff that I want to do, is I need to build in time for me to rest, because otherwise I'm going to get exhausted.
Yeah, I have a feeling that because our days, I've estimated that it would be 6 hours of stuff we're doing, including lunch, like the bulk of the day. So after we eat breakfast, that's not included in the time. Then we go out. Then it's like a 5 to 6 hour day before we come back, have dinner. I have a feeling that even though I want to say I'm going to have time when I get back to do stuff, it's going to be like, no, I'm going to go to bed so I have a lot of rest for the next day.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially like when you're doing it many times in a row. You know, you need to have a night where you're just kind of just sitting there watching TV, just so you could just like
just
chill
unwind.
out.
Yeah,
I mean, it gets that way towards the end of MagFest too. It's just like I kind of just want to sit here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not really much of a picture taker, but I'm really going to try to make sure that I take pictures, because I know that it will go by fast, and that's going to be the best way to remember what happened. And I'm going to try not to buy too much shit, because I don't have the space in my luggage to bring all that stuff home.
That's really awesome.
But yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun.
I've been wanting to go for a long time, and I was always in a situation which didn't make sense. Like it just like always was it either I was with the wrong person at the time. You know, I was in a relationship with a person that wouldn't have been good to travel with, to be honest, which should probably tell you, you know, it's not something that would work in general. But or I was getting a new job, or something was happening in which wouldn't allow me to go on a big trip like this. And luckily now I'm in a fantastic relationship. I'm in a really good one, and one that where, you know, my girlfriend is somebody that I really like doing a lot of things with, and going on trips is something that I want to do with her. And in fact, we're going to Florida next week. I think this will be a really good time. Maybe next year, I could go with her. And I also want to meet up with my friend Retro Gamer. You know, he's from Ireland, and he said he wanted to meet up with us in Japan and kind of like be our tour guide.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I know that I'm gonna want to go again. I mean, there's probably a lot of other countries that I want to see, but I know that
I would like to go for a first time.
There's a lot of stuff to do in Japan. So,
like, I think Vice and I are like among the last ones of our friends who've just never been.
Losers.
Yeah. I mean, like, even Luminaire was over there when, like, the Fukushima thing happened.
He went several times.
Yeah, but he was there for a really long time. He was
when
teaching fifth graders English in Japan.
Yeah.
He was there for, like, a whole... I forgot if it was a semester of our school year, but he was there, like, on business. He just lived in Japan for a while.
Yeah, he was there when the tsunami hit, and we were like, oh, crap, where is he?
Yeah.
Like, we got to check on him. He was luckily, you know, just fine, but he wasn't even in the, you know, the section of the country that was hit or even near it. But it's still, it was one of those things like, oh man, we got to check. Like, I think even, you know, like when disasters happen, like, you kind of just do that instinctively. I remember like when 9/11 happened, I called you to make sure you were all right, Pyro, at the time. You were one of the few people I called, actually.
Aw.
Yeah. You think about you know, your loved ones in those kind of instances.
I love you too.
I was gonna throw something in there like, you didn't call me.
We didn't know each other.
Yeah, we wouldn't have even met for like another 8 or 7 years.
Sophomore year of high school. Fuck off. And also, I don't care about you.
Now I'm just imagining.
There it is.
Now I'm just imagining Vice calling Lotus saying like, "I don't know you, but we're gonna be good friends in 3 years. So I'm hoping you're okay."
Are you okay, Lotus? Who is this?
Also,
do I even have any Lotus Prince yet?
Who
are you and who is Lotus? What is any of this?
Well.
Who's well, anyway. I'm looking forward to hearing on a reactive.
Yeah. When I get back, I'll make sure to come on and I can talk about it.
Yeah, we'll have to devote a nice, healthy segment to your adventures, and so you can tell us what went on. But yeah, definitely want to do that. So, without any further ado, I think we should wrap it up for this segment. That's our show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs up, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and love of pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as VyseTheBold, VyseTheBold, on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and Twitter.
You can follow me at my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince, all one word. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then maybe consider swinging by my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Lotus Prince. Again, all one word.
And I'm running out of funny things to say, but if you want to find me, definitely don't look at Instagram or Flickr.
That's a good point, yeah.
How about MySpace?
I don't remember if I have a MySpace or not, so
How
I don't
about
know.
Friendster? Are you feeling apathetic?
Well, what song plays when I click on your page?
How about Friendster? Anyway.
Probably some Linkin Park.
Probably I was gonna say. I was gonna say Persona, but yeah, if it's from like high school, then yeah, I guess.
Crawling in.
In the end, it doesn't even matter.
Anyway, we'll catch you on Tuesday. Too soon. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Catch you guys later. Bye bye.
Good night, everyone.